Wild Witch. Now, Sara Syn suggested that I do this video. Sara Syn's channel I will put below. She has asked me a couple of questions and wanted me to talk about them. And one is, how do you feel about the superficiality in the subculture? What are your experiences and what are the positives and negatives? So I'll kind of go into all of that. I feel that in an ideal world, there would be no superficiality within the subculture. I know that she herself has spoken about coming across people who look the part, they've got all the clothes, the hair, everything, but they still are quite superficial. They don't see beyond it as a trend. They see that it is just a trend. They look at it as any other kind of fashion. To be gothic, to be a goth, generally speaking, most people that you meet are quite thoughtful and they read a lot, they listen to music, they are intelligent people. I've never met a goth who wasn't intelligent, and never met a goth who didn't think about life and existence and death and everything, basically. You know, you'll get a room full of goths. Admittedly, there are lots of different types of goth. Get a room full of goths and they talk about anything. There are lots of different things to talk about. So I haven't really experienced much superficiality within the subculture. I have known people who were goths and who are no longer goths, and that's the only downside I would say to it. But I think inside they probably still quite like some of the same stuff. It's just that because of life and maybe their job, they can't dress the way that they would like to, and therefore, you know, life gets in the way. My thing is, life does get in the way. So yeah, there are some superficial people out there, unfortunately, and I've not really had much experience of that. I think there's a potential, because it is a, you know, a bit of a dress-up thing, that there are some people who like to do the dressing up but don't actually understand much about the subculture, because they're seeing it as a trendy thing and they're seeing it as a bandwagon to jump on, and it might make them more popular with you on YouTube or something, or might make them more popular. If they are doing that because that's what they expect to be popular because of it, then they're really probably not truly goths, because they're not doing it as a complete lifestyle. Now, okay, here we go. Complete lifestyle. There are people out there like the Kilted Goth who have got the houses decorated with skulls and everything. My house isn't that way. I've got the odd piece here and there. I've got the odd animal skull and that sort of thing. Mainly because I didn't want my house to be like that. I didn't want my house to be all gothic and so on. So yeah, from the outside, some people might say, you're not very gothic, are you? And quite a lot of the time, I don't particularly dress gothic, mainly because I don't want to. You know, there are times in life when, you know, you can dress up like it's Black Friday all the time if you want to, or not. It doesn't make you any less of a goth, right? This is the one big thing. It doesn't make you any less of a goth, in my opinion, and in the opinion of other people that I know. Being a goth means that, yes, you've still got to fit into the world. Yeah, so yeah, you might wear black more than most people, but generally speaking, it's something that's internal, and so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you've got blue hair, black hair, grey hair, pink hair, whatever, brown hair. It doesn't matter. It matters that you are interested in the subculture, that you know, express it in whatever way you express it. As I said, as far as experiences go, I've not really had any negative experiences from within the gothic subculture itself. I've had negative experiences from people who are not goth and who don't understand the subculture, who, you know, point the finger and take the mickey and whatever. I remember walking through town when I lived in Stockport, and I was all dressed up, back-combed hair, the whole shebang, floor-length velvet skirt, the lot, and totally in black and silver and everything. And I was going to a nightclub, and we used to catch the train into Manchester because it was easier than than driving in at night, and we, wanted to be able to have a drink and so on. So we used to catch the train in, and it meant walking through our local town. And of course, during the summer, you get people drinking outside and so on. And we walked past this particular sports bar, and there were a group of, normal people outside, and they were football fans. They'd been drinking all day, and they were quite rude. They were like, "Oh, it's the Addams family. It's," and I just kind of turned around and went, "Yeah, it is actually," and just kind of tried to have a little bit of banter with them about it, because I didn't see the point in, I did at times walk with my head down and just kind of ignore them, which is, sometimes the best way to be, because but sometimes I think if you respond to them and you add humour to it, it can have a positive effect. They'll see that you're not bothered by it, basically. They think they've had a joke, but if you can turn that joke around onto them, if they don't understand that you've done that, then even better. I've done that before now. As I said, within the subculture, there are people who are superficial, but I think they're superficial anyway, and they would just be like that regardless of what subculture they were in, whether it was Gothic subculture or any other subculture. They would just be superficial. I think as well there is a superficial element to it regarding the clothing and everything, because now you can get anything you like. You can buy any type of clothing and wear it and be whoever. Once upon a time, back in the day, we had to make do with what we could get, and there was only one main clothing manufacturer in the UK, and that was Phase Clothing. They'd been around since the punk days, and they did things like bondage trousers and pike boots and you name it. They did a lot of alternative clothing. So these places were quite small. So generally speaking, and they were quite expensive. So buying one piece from them would be, having to save up a lot of money. So the idea came about that people made their own. So generally speaking, there were staple things like, black leather jacket or something, but each goth made it their own. So they would paint on it, or, I had a black leather jacket, and I had some blue Celtic knotwork designs on the back that I painted on, and I had The Cure on one sleeve and Rocky Horror Show on the other, that I painted on myself. So there was this do-it-yourself ethos to it. So again, I'd call myself a goth, but I'd be wearing black jeans that weren't stretch skin tight black jeans, because, they were just black jeans, because it were the only pair of black jeans I could find. And I wore Doc Martens constantly, because New Rocks weren't around in those days. So yeah, Doc Martens were the thing to wear. So I wore Doc Martens, or I wore knockoff copies of Doc Martens if I couldn't afford to buy the real thing. I wore kung fu slippers, the little ones with a little strap on, the velvet ones, because I liked those. And I wore a lot of tassely skirts and band t-shirts and that sort of thing. But I didn't have black hair for quite a long time. So I don't consider that I was any less a goth because of it. In fact, the real goths, the goths that, were dressed all in black and everything, I found quite intimidating. Although I've found out since, I've known quite a number of them now, and they're great. They're really nice people. But at the time, I was quite scared of it. And because, you call them baby bats now, when you're young and you want to try and fit into a subculture, you don't necessarily find it easy to, especially if you're not conforming completely to the stereotype of that subculture, which I wasn't. I didn't conform to it completely, because I had a regular job as well, and I had a regular boyfriend, and I didn't kind of go completely overboard until I was in my 20s, when I felt much more comfortable with myself, and felt more able to express myself with the clothing that I wore and so on. Because I felt that I was a bit young at 18 to kind of make a lot of those decisions, really. That was just me personally. So yeah, it's a young people can feel threatened by some of the older people, but which again is another reason to do things like these videos, is because it helps to show people that not everybody within the subculture is superficial. There are a lot of people who think deeply about it, and there are a lot of people who care. You know, I care that people are coming through the subculture and are having these negative experiences. And I think it's greatly unfair that there are, much like, you know, wait, you see, if you see a film, there's a film called Heathers out there which stars Winona Ryder. In that film, there is a bunch of girls who are the superficial, normal type girls in an American high school, and they're all cheerleaders, and they look down on Winona Ryder's character because she is a bit more geeky. She reads a lot. She's, you know, it's quite interesting to watch from the stereotype perspective. If we're not careful, we can all find ourselves conforming to stereotypes, and she eventually gains some access to them and becomes a bit more like them, but it's not who she truly is. And again, it's about that hypocrisy. I will say, great, if you want to try something, like there's been some more gothic fashions, the emo thing that sort of came through. People are discovering who they are when they're teenagers. When people are teenagers, they're discovering who they are. And I think the self-discovery is what we are constantly doing. We are constantly finding out who we are. So dressing a particular way, or even, you know, doing our makeup a particular way or anything, is about that discovery. Obviously, as you get older, you become a little bit more set in your ways, perhaps, about how you like your makeup and how you like to do things. I'm a bit different, but, you know, hey. So yes, try those different things out. If it's about it's that self-discovery that is important. However, what we shouldn't be doing is putting other people down for dressing a particular way. If you are in the subculture and you embrace the subculture for what it is, you're part of it, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution, which is be open with people. If people ask you questions, answer them truthfully. If people are ridiculing you because of the way that you look, you know, it says more about them than it does you. If you want to dress a particular way and you like dressing that way, do it, because life is far too short to not do it. This is something that I've come to a realization of, is I'm in my 40s now. Life is far too short to not be yourself. Yeah? If being yourself means dressing head to toe in black and, you know, being a goth and identifying with it, do it. But don't put anybody else down for not doing it, and don't put anybody down for doing things in a different way, because everybody is unique. Every person out there in the world is unique. We need to remember that. Yeah? Yes, we can come together and we can build communities, but we are all unique. We are all individual. Yeah? Being like the herd, you know, being like the group, does give a certain sense of security, or can give a certain sense of security, but ultimately we all get through this life alone. Yeah, we're all traveling in the same direction. We're all heading towards death. Yeah, it's inevitable. Death is inevitable. Yeah, your experience of life is what matters. So embrace life, embrace whatever you like about it, but do not put other people down for it. So yeah, Sarah, that's my little video about what you asked me, and I hope I've kind of made sense. I'm not sure if I have, but I just thought I'll do it anyway and just see if it, you know, if it helps. So yeah, there you go. That's my video on that. I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.